Hi, so my name is Doreen Mbaya. I'm the founder of Karembou Spa Limited, and it's been an interesting journey. Why I created this product is because in my background, straight from college, I worked for a short time for a shop that used to sell cosmetics, and I would do this as a part-time gig so that I would have some extra pocket money. Then I realized something, that a lot of women buy beauty products but they don't read them and they misuse them. And the second thing I realized is that in the market there are very few products which are actually made for African women and are made for our climate and environment. So, you know, a lot of the market has products that are dumped here. They're not researched using our skin or our people. And, you know, the consequences are that people buy something in the hope that it'll work for them, and it doesn't. Karembou took a long journey, more than most entrepreneurs would take, which is almost about 10 years, from inception to retail. One of the early things I did is I worked with spa professionals. I worked with beauticians at the then Hilton Spa, and another beautician at the Serena. And they helped me understand that you have to make a product that will not, number one, react on anybody, meaning you have to have the safest ingredients. Yeah, and then that can work for a variety of people. So these were good partners because they give you product exposure. Because you can imagine how many people does a beautician come across a day. You know, people with oily skin, people with dry skin, people with stretch marks, cellulite, aging skin, young skin. So those were really essential partners in my first 7 years. Because you must have been asking, what was she doing? What did she do for 10 years? So it was basically R&D. And a lot of people also don't know that skincare, giants like L'Oreal, they spend millions in R&D. And you can find a moisturizer, by the time it's come to the market, it's been in research for 14 years. You know, because they're experimenting with new ingredients that have never been tried before. So that is kind of like our journey. If there's a way we can promote more acceptance of our own things, because it's always like, okay, here's a Chinese person selling you something, you grab that, but here's a Kenyan person selling you something, you're like, I don't know, you know. So there's a mental barrier block that we have towards our own things. Another thing that I encountered was a bit of a challenge was sourcing. Yes, when you're doing the experiment phase and you're selling to a few beauticians and everything, it's very easy because, you know, your quantities are small and you don't have to keep buying from the same supplier. But once we got into this stage where we're now going for, you know, Kenya Industrial Property approvals, which we got, and now the KEBS approvals, it's so important that you have a stable formula. For you to have a stable formula, you have to have reliable suppliers. Reliable suppliers will give you the same thing every time, so that when your customer is buying your product, they can expect the same performance every time. So the coffee thing was a bit crazy because I found myself in the coffee auction in Ukulima market, trying to bargain and get the green bean stock, then making sure it's roasted. Then when it's roasted, it has to have the aroma, because in Karembou we don't add any synthetic fragrances. So when we're milling the product comes out with the same smell that it has at the level when they're roasting and grinding. So it means that the aroma must be very rich for you not to have to add now a fake smell just to make it smell. So it's as it is. And one of the policies and values we have is that we do very little interference with the product the way it exists in nature. We just develop a base which the product can rest, and we process it to be able to rest within that base. So it got to a point where I said, no, I have to buy from a farm, because Nairobi, the coffee auction, you get bags, you know, from anywhere. This one from Nyeri, this one from Kamaiga, this, you know. Then sometimes you can't control the size of the grind. So I identified a farm through friends. It took me about like 2-3 months to find this farm in Gatanga, and it's run by an old Italian man who was actually a prisoner of war. Yes, as in his family came to Kenya in the 1920s, and they love coffee. So they were so pleased to know that we can do value addition, that coffee is not just for drinking, you can actually create a skin treatment product out of it. The molasses has been a challenge because the sugar industry has a lot of cartels. And I think they're not so well organized like the coffee farm where you have cooperatives and you have auctions and that kind of thing. It's kind of really up to the sugar factories. And the question they ask is, unapeleka sukari wapi mama? Why are you taking this sugar? Are you trying to ship it across the border? What are you doing with it? So I remember I had to do like 2 interviews, and I finally found a supplier on Mombasa Road who was willing to let me buy bags of brown sugar molasses after doing an interview. The other bits and pieces I must say that can be a challenge, unexpected challenge, was KEBS themselves. The first time that I applied for a KEBS permit, they got back to me and said, oh, please come and pick your products. They belong in food. So I was like, what? Yeah, you're in the wrong office. So I was like, what? Sasa hii ni kahawa na sukari, kwa nini umeleta hapa? So I'm like, goodness, this is called ingredient marketing. And this is where the world is. I mean, look at what the world is doing. People are selling mango butter. They're selling, you know, things to do with food, but in skincare, because those are the best ingredients. Hey, I also write a letter to my boss, explain about this marketing of ingredients to them. So I had to write a letter to them, explain to them this is actually a skincare product. Gosh, anyway, so I got my permit. On the other side, retailers like Carrefour and Naivas have been very difficult, primarily because they used to deal with multinationals. And the sad part about it is the multinationals are in bed with the big supermarket chains and have blocked out small SMEs. I won't name any companies on camera, but the companies have big advertising budgets. They can put billboards there, in every news break they're there. So the supermarkets get into relationships with these guys because of how much they're spending and how much they're pushing. So you find SMEs have no room to penetrate. So I've been to Carrefour not once, 3-4 times, and you get a lot of excuses. As, you guys don't support Made in Kenya? They show you Aremis. Oh, we have Nice and Lovely. So I'm like, that's not the only Made in Kenya. Why do we have this mentality that Made in Kenya must be bottom shelf? So I think that is an area which is yet to be won. That's a battle that yet to be won. Yeah. I would discourage anyone from getting in because they want to copy somebody, which is unfortunately a Kenyan trend we have. Because when you copy, you reach a point where you can't copy how to solve a problem. My message is, get in to solve a problem. John, this is my dream, that one day I'll be able to sell a container in dollars. But sometimes that vision really suffers from a lot of punches because the cost of just logistics is so high. So you find yourself, you write to these distributors in Nigeria or in South Africa, they tell you to send the product. Sending just a couple of products is $60, $70 just to send a few products. So I'm really hoping that we can somehow come together and have hubs, in these export markets where we can all consolidate our products, and if we have orders there, we can fulfill them from a local, hub within that country, like if it's Nigeria or if it's South Africa. Other than sending one, it's too expensive. It doesn't make sense. The other thing I'd say is, again, at the tourism and trade level, I think, people already know they're lions here. They know they're Maasais. Do we have to keep taking those things? Yeah, so if there's a way that we can just create like a cohort of quality Kenyan products and include them in that showcase. When we're gifting all these ambassadors and all these people in AFTA, products like this should be part of the showcase, not Akikoi, Tusker, and Maasai beads. Like we've done that for the past 30 years. It's time for change because young people and women, we're really trying to innovate and add to that basket of products that Kenya has to offer. It's very welcome. I think Blue Pages, if there's a way that it can network with especially countries in South America, countries in Asia, because I found out my other business partner, she comes from Asia, and he has been responsible for helping me refine the packaging and the look. And there are countries who have no idea what real Kenyan coffee is like or what real Kenyan sugar, and they say our sugar has a certain quality which is so unique. And in skincare, this sugar has something called glycolic acid, and it's better than any chemical skin peel you can pay hundreds of dollars for. you know. So if there's a way that we can, especially products that are value added from Kenyan cash crops, we take them to these markets like Asia where this stuff doesn't exist, we can really start to contribute to a balance of trade.